So it works. Yeah, Susanne Wilson, I am so grateful, so happy that you're here. Welcome to my podcast and thank you for making the time.
I'm thrilled to be here, Corey. Thanks for asking me.
I would like to start with an introduction, if you don't mind. Maybe you would like to introduce yourself a little bit. I will also include a short intro to to the podcast version of this video as well. But I would love for you to introduce yourself first. Would that be okay?
Absolutely. I
Okay.
am known as the Carefree Medium because my clients actually gave me that name.
Yeah.
I was living and working in Carefree,
Hmm.
Arizona. Believe it or not, there is a city actually named that.
Oh, really?
And so I had a gentleman leave a voicemail message at my office number saying, "My wife and I are coming in from Canada and we want to have a session with the Carefree Medium." And I'm like, that's got a nice ring to it because think about it, you guys. Once you fully trust that you cannot die, you can
Hmm.
live a more carefree life here,
Hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
so I'm like,
Definitely. Yeah.
this, okay, I'm going to take that. This works. But that's not who I was most of my life. Like many of the people listening to this, you have like different lives within your
Hmm.
life,
Hmm.
and we're always growing and changing. For me, I was a little child that had all of these abilities of clairvoyance and clairaudience, and I
Hmm.
would see things that were very disruptive to my life, and I try to describe them to the adults and other kids around me, and it got me bullied in school. And I
Yeah.
did not want to go to school. And I literally would get physically sick about
Hmm.
going to school, even though I made good grades. And I would also pretend to be sick to not go
Hmm.
because I was getting bullied and pushed down on the playground and stuff like that. And so my mom asked her father, a Protestant preacher, to
Hmm.
talk to me and find out what's going on with me. And I'm in
Hmm.
grade school, so I tell him I see these lights around people. I see others that the other kids don't see. And to
Hmm.
my relief and shock, he said, I see them too. And
Hmm. Right.
so I got a really good mentor in my
Yeah.
life as a child. He also taught me to be quiet about these abilities, that they are coming from God, that God gives everybody gifts.
Hmm.
Mine are these. And at some point in my life, I'd use them, but be careful. So I sort of went quiet in the closet, as they say, about
Hmm.
having abilities. And so through my 20s, 30s, 40s, I was getting an education, building a career. I got my bachelor's degree in management, a
Hmm.
master's in public affairs policy. It's called an MPA or
Yeah.
master's in public admin.
Yeah.
And I had great jobs. I was a university administrator. I was in a corporate office in human resources
Hmm.
for a Fortune 100 company. And then in my 40s, the big wake up call happens. And I bet a lot of people listening have had wake up calls too,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know, something that
Hmm.
shifts everything.
Everything. Yeah. Yeah.
And mine was a near death experience with anaphylaxis. Do you know what anaphylaxis
No,
is?
I don't actually. No.
Okay, okay. Well, I don't get to talk about it much anymore because the people that are really familiar with me, especially in the States, have
Yeah.
heard it so many times. The
Okay.
podcasters will go, "Yeah, you skipped the part about
You
the
skip the
NDE.
part.
We
Okay.
all know that.
No,
We all
no,
know that."
you're
So
more
it's
than
like,
welcome to share
oh,
with us.
great.
Yes.
Well, it's a treat because it is such a pivotal point in many people's lives
Okay.
when they have the NDE or near death
Hmm.
experience. And
Hmm.
please know that you don't have to be in the operating room on the table with gadgets hooked up to you to have a near death
Yeah.
experience. It can come in many different ways, in many different forms.
Hmm.
Mine was getting allergy tested at
Oh.
the doctor's office, and I was back for the second round of allergy tests, and they prick little spots in your arm and
Yeah.
they add the things that you might be allergic to.
Hmm.
I think they're called allergens,
Hmm.
and they see how you react. My reaction became anaphylaxis, full on 1 in a million anaphylaxis, where I ultimately stopped breathing. My throat was closing up. It was honking like a goose. I was saying, I
Mm-hmm.
can't breathe. And the next thing I knew, I had these technicians holding me up, one on either side of me. I had two doctors that ran in the room, and they were going to rescue me, of
Yeah.
course. I mean, if you're going to have a life-threatening allergic reaction, the doctor's office, it's a good place to
It's a
have
good
it. I'm
place to
just
be.
saying, right? Yeah. And so here I am, and
Mm-hmm.
I felt the moment that my breath stopped. I felt the moment that my heart went beep, beep, beep. I
Mm-hmm.
felt the beats stop,
Stop.
and I popped back and out of my body and was a little bit above it, like
Yeah.
looking down at the back of my head. And I
Mm-hmm.
could see in the room the two technicians and the two doctors slowed down. To
Mm-hmm.
me, they looked like they were in slow motion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And one doctor was preparing an injection very slowly. The other was on the phone, and I would find out calling 911.
Mm-hmm.
And while I'm out of the body, I see beautiful colors. I hear
Mm-hmm.
beautiful music. I want to get to that music. I want to go to where the music's coming from.
Yeah.
And I feel arms around me, like somebody's standing behind me with arms around me as I'm looking at this scene.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be back to the body. The
Mm-hmm.
scene that my physical body is in
Mm-hmm.
is flat, one-dimensional looking to me, like it's a picture.
Okay.
The human beings they're trying to help me, all four medical professionals looked unreal, like cardboard
Mm-hmm.
cutouts.
Mm-hmm.
Their eyes
Mm-hmm.
were dead. They looked like nothing to me, like this is not the reality. Where I am is the reality, right? And it's a weird feeling because I immediately accepted it.
Okay.
No question, right?
Okay.
And I'm not doing any kind of spiritual work at the time. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not that's not my thing. I've put all that into a secret hiding place. I go to
Mm-hmm.
development circles
Mm-hmm.
secretly. I don't tell anybody. I'm actually kind of ashamed because I don't want to be thought of as crazy.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
make money, I
Yeah.
want to have a good
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I immediately
Yeah.
accept Corey where I am and I want to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realize I can't see him, but the arms around me are granddad. And he had died when I was a teenager.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm like, wow, not
Mm-hmm.
only am I going someplace with this beautiful music and these beautiful
Mm-hmm.
swirling colors, I've
Mm-hmm.
got my best friend of my entire life, my father figure, my everything.
Wow.
I'm going with him.
Yeah. Oh, that's
I mean,
great.
how good can it be, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just as I feel like I'm going to go someplace,
Mm-hmm.
I heard this very strange voice I've never heard before saying, your work has not started yet.
Okay.
And they put the injections in me, and then
Mm-hmm.
they've laid me down, and they have that machine out, the defibrillator.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, so they have that. The
Mm-hmm.
ambulance is there,
Mm-hmm.
the paramedics are there,
Mm-hmm.
and get back in the body, and I I hear them say, "Wait, no, she's breathing." So I didn't get the shock to the heart,
Okay.
but it was a shock to come back in. But
Yeah.
after that, I had to really question what work hasn't started yet because I was working a full-time job, a
Yeah.
professional job, and I was going to weekend school for a PhD
Okay.
in human capital, human resources development.
Resources. Okay.
Yeah.
So, wow. Did you bring back any messages from that near-death encounter, or was it just um, a feeling or feeling that something needed to change, or was there anything else? You also mentioned your granddad. So was
Yeah,
that the
yeah.
first time where you thought you now had kind of proof of an afterlife, or was that before as well? So were there messages? Was that proof for you in the moment that there is an
Great.
afterlife?
Great
Yeah.
question.
Okay.
I already knew, but I don't think I completely trusted
Okay.
until then. I
Hmm.
was going even before the NDE, I was going to psychic development workshops. I was sitting in a development circle,
Hmm.
but I had everybody pretty much sworn to secrecy. Like if this ever gets out, my career is
Hmm.
cooked.
Yeah.
And I didn't want it to get out, and I wasn't even sure why I was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember trying to get the winning lottery numbers. I mean,
Okay.
I wasn't coming from a real spiritual place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what the message was to me was get your act together, get your priorities together. If you're going to use this gift the way your grandfather told you were going to use it when you were a child, you got to
Mm-hmm.
change.
Mm-hmm.
And the first reaction that I had to that was when I was in the hospital bed, because of course they're going to take you to the hospital. I
Mm-hmm.
did see my grandfather in the ambulance,
Mm-hmm.
and then I didn't see him again for a long time. But in
Mm-hmm.
the hospital, then it dawned on me, they said something to me as right when I came back, and I had to remember what they said. And then when I realized it was your work hasn't started yet, I was angry because
Mm-hmm.
I thought I'm working the hardest I've ever worked in my life with
Mm-hmm.
school and a job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I also felt like, why did they not keep me? Why did they think I haven't been enough or done enough? Like I felt maybe I was punished to come
Mm-hmm.
back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, and all my abilities were turned up all the way.
Okay, okay. Can you describe your abilities a bit more? Because I was going to ask you
Gosh,
about your mediumship in general,
yeah,
mediumship
yeah,
abilities. But can you describe what you can do? I mean, it's a lot basically, right?
yes,
Can you give
yeah.
some
I
examples?
had to go back to classes and say, look, I don't need to learn how to tune in
Okay.
anymore. I need to learn
Yeah.
how to tune out.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Because now I'm wide open,
Mm-hmm.
and I learned that each of us has personal sovereignty,
Mm-hmm.
free will,
Mm-hmm.
and agency
Okay.
to tap in or tune out. And I've got to tell you, that is so liberating to know that you don't have to receive information if you don't want to, but you can. And so I learned to be helpful, hopeful, and healing.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning,
Mm-hmm.
if I tune in, and Edgar Casey once said, whenever you tune into the Akashic records, or meaning
Yeah.
information in the ether, you
Yeah.
must do it with the mindset of being helpful, hopeful, and healing.
Okay.
So I decided I'm going to revisit all these studies that I have. Instead of trying to use them to my benefit, use
Mm-hmm.
them to benefit everyone around me if
Mm-hmm.
I can,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so what I have is I pretty much every one of the clairs, if people have read about the clairs or
Yeah.
clears,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, clair audience is clear
Yeah.
hearing,
Yeah.
clairvoyance, claircognizance,
Mm-hmm.
clairsentience. So it's all hearing,
Wow.
feeling, knowing.
Yeah.
I'd say my strongest ones my whole life have been clairvoyance and clairaudience. It's the
Okay.
seeing and the hearing. But there's a very important distinction I want to make for people.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they think they don't see anything. They're not clairvoyant at all. Well, I'm not seeing objectively like I
Mm-hmm.
did when I was a child. I'm seeing subjectively, and that's in the mind's eye, like a
Mm-hmm.
flash of a daydream, like a little glimmer. And
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of us can see subjectively. You don't want to see objectively. After the NDE, I was set back in time to where it was when I was a child, where the aura was in the room. The other person's grandfather that passed was in the room.
Mm-hmm.
You want your clairvoyance to be subjective in the mind's
Actually.
eye because
Okay.
it will disrupt your life to no end. So I
Mm-hmm.
used alcohol for a
Mm-hmm.
while. I abused alcohol
Okay.
to tune it out.
Yeah.
And Corey, people will tell me, wait, wait, wait. I drink and I have a couple of drinks and I can really tune in and I start reading everybody in the room. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's a misuse of the gift. And that's also leaving yourself open to be massively depleted. You're
Okay.
using alcohol to lower your inhibitions. I
Yeah.
used it for a time after the NDE to keep that all away.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't recommend alcohol as a way to tune in. I don't recommend it as a way to tune out. But I needed something for a while to figure out why are all these gifts full on? And
Yeah.
it didn't take long. It took about a year for me to realize I've just got to leave the corporate and the academe. I've got to leave this life. I got to do something different. And that changed everything.
But a year is still quite a long time, I think. So
It
wasn't
is.
that a difficult transition? It must have been a difficult
Yeah.
transition. So when you decided to change careers, so to speak, how did you start with that? Did you just, I don't know, did you hand in your notice, your and say, so I
I
stopped
was going to
working
get
with that?
fired. I was going to
You were
get
gonna
fired
get fired?
anyway.
Yes. Okay.
I was letting it happen. I
Okay.
just didn't care about the job anymore.
Okay.
And
Okay.
my performance was going down.
Okay.
Like I just couldn't get into it. I wanted
Mhm.
to love.
Mhm.
And and I was so wide open. I mean, I used to tell the story. There was a woman I worked with, and her mom was going through stage 4 cancer,
Oh.
and I remember she was a corporate, like an executive vice
Mhm.
president, and I
Mhm.
walked into a boardroom for a meeting, and I just went up to her and I said, "Oh, how's your mom? Give me a hug." You just don't do that in that corporate setting.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I remember people thinking, "Well, what's wrong with her? Is she on
Mhm.
drugs?" and that sort of thing. And I mean, we're teaching, don't touch anybody in the
Yeah.
workplace and
Yeah.
sensitivity training and all of
Uh-huh.
that. And I was like, I was like this open heart, so
Mhm.
sensitive.
Mhm.
And I just stopped doing my job basically and
Okay.
started being like, like the counselor character on Star
Okay.
Trek, New
Ah, yes, I
Generation,
know her. Yes. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like,
Okay.
that's not the job. But I did have an executive in the company take me
Mhm.
aside and
Mhm.
have me use my abilities to help
Mhm.
with strategic planning and things
Oh,
like that.
really?
And we
Oh.
were meeting one time and he said, you're not long for this job, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
You've been redirected. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yep, I want to stay just long enough to cash out my stock
Yeah.
and go. And I did.
Okay, amazing. And then you started off as the carefree medium immediately, or was there another transition period between?
No, I worked in a call center for a while. We
Did you?
moved, we cashed out of Florida.
Okay.
We sold everything. I had a
Mm-hmm.
huge home, boats, cars, the
Mm-hmm.
whole thing, but that's not sustainable without that
Mm-hmm.
job, without that career. And I took a really menial job for a couple
Mm-hmm.
of years while I
Mm-hmm.
was building a practice.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed the people that I worked with, but I
Mm-hmm.
moved from Florida to Arizona to Carefree and
Oh, okay.
started all
Okay.
over. I
Mm-hmm.
was able to buy an office condo to meet with people in person,
Okay.
and I was able to just it was like I was put in situations so fast where I never really had to market or build a business.
Okay. Oh,
It
that's
just
cool. Yeah.
happened.
Was just meant to be, really, right?
Yeah. And so people will
Right.
say to me, Suzanne, I want to do what you did. I want to turn away from all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I just can't because I have so many obligations. What do I do? And so
Mm-hmm.
what I tell them is, I know how fortunate I am. I'm grateful every day. I know how blessed I am. Do I
Mm-hmm.
miss that money? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes. The people say money doesn't buy happiness, but money certainly makes it easier for you to be
Definitely. Yeah.
carefree.
Yes,
It definitely
definitely.
does.
Yeah.
That is for sure. But I
Yeah.
also tell them, you know what? The source, God, will use you in place
Mm-hmm.
wherever you are right now. So
Okay.
if you're thinking you want to be of service to others,
Mm-hmm.
look right where you are now.
Okay.
My granny used to sing this song, and I think it came from Ireland. I don't know, but that's where her
Mm-hmm.
parents came from, and it was
Mm-hmm.
brighten the corner where you are,
Where you are. Yeah, that's good advice. That is
right?
good advice,
You
definitely.
can, you
Yeah,
can,
it's
and you can
perfect.
find ways to plug
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
your pursuits that you want to
Mm-hmm.
do. We can't all up and quit our jobs and
Yes.
do the spiritual work. And there were sacrifices that come with this. There were friends that I had to lose because they could not get behind the
Mm-hmm.
new me.
Mm-hmm.
And it is what it is.
It is what it is, yeah. I was wondering, when you started to become a medium full time, so to speak, what would you say is maybe a main misunderstanding of your work or of
Ah,
being a mediumship? A medium, not a mediumship, of doing mediumship? What is the main misunderstanding?
Yes. Okay. Another great question. That we can just tune into whoever we want. Like I could order up your aunt and uncle, like I'm ordering a burger
Yeah.
with fries,
Okay.
and that they can tell me, here's my address, here's my name,
Hmm.
here's the year I
Hmm.
was born. I mean,
Doesn't
it's
work like
not going to
that.
happen.
Hmm.
I heard John Edward say recently, how do you talk with someone who's deaf and uses sign language? Well, they're
Mm-hmm.
giving you signs, right?
Hmm. Of course.
Because
Yeah.
they're not speaking, they're not hearing.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
signs, and you need to understand that language to
Yeah.
be able to communicate well and concisely. And
Hmm.
it's the same thing that it's symbology, it's signs, it's
Okay.
reaching into my mind and pulling out an
Hmm.
experience I've had to get me to say
Hmm.
something similar to you. And I think it's important to understand that it's not a guessing game and that you
Hmm.
need your discernment to know the difference between someone who thinks that they have a gift and someone who actually does. I think most people who aren't very good at this
Hmm.
really want to do a good job. They really want
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
tune in, but maybe they just got lucky a couple of times and it's not a consistent gift
Yeah.
for them over
Yeah.
and over and over. So that's the biggest misconception. Remember I mentioned the lottery numbers
Yeah,
when you,
exactly. Yeah, I was
all right?
thinking about them. That's a myth as well, right?
Yeah, but I'm
Lottery
going to tell
numbers.
you something. I'm going to tell you something, Corey. I don't know if I've told anybody this before, but
Yeah.
for several years in a row around Christmas time, there was a grocery store that I would go in and buy a lottery ticket.
Mm-hmm.
And, we'd do a scratch off of a lottery ticket on Christmas
Mm-hmm.
Day.
Mm-hmm.
And one Christmas, as I stood there in front of the case, it's a glass case and you can see all the different tickets, and there's many
Yeah.
to choose from.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of them, a stack of one of the tickets lit up in front of me when I said, "Look, just give me this one. Just
Okay.
give me this one." And it goes beep, 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 and it's lighting up, lighting up. So I said, "I want
Mm-hmm.
that one." And I won $50 cash.
Wow.
And,
Okay.
but see, did they make me rich? I think not.
Not
Is it
really,
is it
no.
is it something that's in my future to be rich? Obviously not, because that would
Not.
have been the
No.
time. So
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
things like
Okay.
that can happen.
Okay.
I had a distant relative one time text me and say, "Look, I just want to know if I'm going to get pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing IVF. Please just
Mm-hmm.
tell me. I've never asked you for anything before."
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I got so ticked off. I was like, she's really bugging me. And
Mm-hmm.
it's constant. So finally, I was in a bad mood and I went, "Yes, you're going to get pregnant in the fall, and it's one boy and one girl, twins." And then
Okay.
after I did it, I thought, well, that'll show her. Guess what? Guess what?
Yes.
Boy and a girl, twins. Yeah. And I'm like, it was a
Amazing.
throwaway comment, and it was
Ah,
right. So
yeah.
we, it's, and so imagine when you actually do tune in
Mm-hmm.
and you
Mm-hmm.
ask for information coming in. Now you've got to translate all these symbols and signs,
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
mess it up.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's practice, it's dedication, it takes a ton of
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah.
I don't do one-to-one mediumship anymore. I haven't for
Mm-hmm.
some time, but if there's
Mm-hmm.
a bereaved parent out
Mm-hmm.
there who's never ever had a reading because they can't afford it, I will
Mm-hmm.
do the reading for them at no charge.
Okay.
Sometimes it takes me a while to get to them because I,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if they've never been able to afford it and it's
Mm-hmm.
something that they really want,
Mm-hmm.
that to me is a great exchange of energy, is
Definitely.
to try to connect with that child and give them
Yeah.
something there's no way I could know so
Yeah.
that they can have some peace.
Okay.
But what I don't want to do, and the trap that we can get in when we get well known or we've been a research medium
Mm-hmm.
like I have for the University of Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
you get this reputation of accuracy,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get these people who are like addicted to readings.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so it's so frustrating at the end of
Yeah.
a session to hear, "Well, this is my 10th reading, and you got this, but you didn't get that. And this other guy got that, but he didn't get what you got." And I'm like, "You're scorekeeping? This
Mm-hmm.
is not what this is for. I can
Mm-hmm.
only help so many people,
Yeah.
and I don't want to help somebody that doesn't need it."
Yeah.
So, putting parameters around the work is really important too. And that's why from day one, Corey, my whole goal has been to teach people make your own connection so you don't
Mhm,
have to go get any
mhm,
readings
mhm.
ever.
Okay,
And I think that's the
that
thing to do.
yeah, that's great because you already answered another question of mine. I was going to ask about dependency, like when people come to
Yeah.
you in grief, for example,
Yeah.
and where do you see the line between helping them and potentially creating dependence? But you already answered this, so
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And I would say a long time ago, I would say you can only come once a year. And then I
Okay.
made it once every 2 years. And then I went never again, you know. And,
Okay.
but then I had small group readings where some people would come often, like, oh, you've
Hmm.
come 3 times in a year. And so I took a couple of them aside and asked them, why are you doing this? And they said, I like to see how it works.
Okay.
I know my loved ones are okay. I
Hmm.
don't need any new messages from them. I'm there to watch you work. And I'm
Okay.
like, then it's time for you to practice doing it yourself.
Yourself. Okay, yeah, good
Yeah.
point, good point.
Yeah.
So, what would you say? I mean, you mentioned a few points already, but if you had to name like the golden nuggets of your mediumship, like the stuff that was undeniable, undeniably true, that maybe, I don't know, didn't even convince your sitter totally, but maybe even surprised yourself. Can you come up with a few examples?
Yeah, there's one there was a gentleman who came to my office years ago
Mm-hmm.
that he had been in foster care
Mm-hmm.
and he had tried to get his records, and he couldn't get them. And
Oh.
there was one couple that changed his life, and he loved them.
Mhm,
And he's like, "There's no way you could know, but can you tell me, are they on the other side?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they're here." And
mhm,
I got their exact names. And
mhm.
he's like, wait a second. And I'm in chill. I got chills saying this
Yeah,
now
yeah.
because everything else I was giving, he was just like, okay, that's weird. Okay, that's weird. Okay, that's weird. But when,
Mhm,
I said, she's here. This is her name. This is what she
mhm,
looked like. And she's saying
mhm.
hello. He's here. This is his name.
Oh,
And
great.
he was like, those are records nobody has access
Mhm,
to. And
mhm,
I said,
mhm,
and have you ever put them on social media? And he says, no, I don't have social
mhm,
media. And so that helped him in a way that he knew he got to say how much those foster parents changed his life. He was
mhm,
invisible to
mhm.
all the other foster parents he'd had. He was invisible in an orphanage.
Okay.
But there was a couple that changed his life and gave him love and made it possible for him to have a family and give them love. And he
Mhm,
wanted the opportunity to let them know how thankful he was, and he got it. And so when something like that happens, you realize this is why I'm here. It's not
mhm,
to be famous, it's not to be on TV shows.
mhm.
It is to make that big of a difference in somebody's life.
Yeah.
And then there's really fun stuff that you just can't guess. Like there
Mhm,
was one, it was online, and there were bereaved parents. And I'm giving all this information so we know that we have their son. And I said, he's showing me something really weird now. He's nailing a door shut. He's showing me the door shut and he's nailing it so it can't be opened. And
mhm.
there's mom and dad there and on the screen laughing and going, yeah, that was a practical joke that nobody could know. And I'm like, and it's real unusual, that sort of thing. And
Okay.
then if I just give one more little thing it's really cute.
Mhm,
There was a woman whose mother is coming in, and I
mhm.
said she's showing me McDonald's and the McDonald's symbol, the golden arches,
Yeah,
and a
yeah,
Big Mac, and
yeah.
she's saying, "We're laughing now, but we weren't laughing then." And and at the end of the reading, I said, "What did that mean?" Because it seemed to
Mhm,
really impact you. And her
mhm.
daughter said, "My mom died eating a McDonald's Big Mac."
Wow. Oh gosh.
And she said, "We kept that information away from everybody. It's the
Yeah,
inside family joke." And I'm
yeah.
like, "Yeah, that's now, don't get me wrong. You're going to get things that can be looked up because we live in a digital age.
Of course,
But
yeah.
especially
Mhm.
in a longer reading, you have more time. You really get in. You're like,
Mhm. Hmm.
You know, you can start to really blend with the soul and get these wild things. And sometimes it happens in a short reading too. But there are folks out there who are skeptics, and I love them because I want to see evidence too. And there are
Yeah.
folks out there that are cynics. And
Snakes,
that,
yeah.
yeah, and they'll say, look, I wouldn't believe in the existence of the afterlife if you could
Yeah.
prove it to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
You
exactly.
know,
They
and
still
and
don't
that's okay.
think.
Leave them alone. I don't try.
Mm,
I am not here to convince anyone of anything.
yeah,
I tell
yeah,
the
exactly.
people that read my book or take classes, don't
Yeah,
try to convince anyone of anything. It is not your job because you don't understand or know the path that an individual is on
yeah,
in their
true.
life. You know,
Hmm.
just it's not that's not what the work is. The work is just to prove that to those who are open and seeking it that we never die. Only the body dies. It's to prove survival of consciousness to
Yeah.
those who seek that proof. For those who are not seeking it, I just feel like it's probably not on their life path,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
maybe they
Mm.
at some point will have their own wake up call, like
Possible. Yeah.
millions of people do, and then they'll start to go out and investigate.
Yeah.
But mediums, we're super sensitive, Corey. You know, I'm super
Mm.
sensitive.
Oh,
You,
definitely.
you know, it's like
Mm-hmm.
this, and easily hurt. And
Mm-hmm.
so I can't even look at what the cynics
Say, oh, the
say because
cynics say, yeah, okay.
they
Mm-hmm.
insult everybody
Mm-hmm.
because it's almost like they don't want you to be happy. They
Mm-hmm.
don't want you
Yeah.
to have your
Yeah.
evidence. And so fortunately they're a tiny, tiny little group in the world and they can go feed off of each other and stay over there. And then the open-minded skeptics,
Mm-hmm.
bring it
That's
on.
fine. Yeah, bring it on. Okay. So I was gonna mention critics, so you almost answered my question here as well. This is funny, really, because I was gonna ask as well, because some of them also say, you mentioned looking people up on the internet. That's
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
criticism that comes up quite often. And also some say, oh, this is all cold reading. Of thought,
Yes,
what you
yes.
do. So what do you say to that? Is it cold reading? No, but how can you respond to that?
I don't know exactly what cold reading is, or I didn't know what cold reading was. And I looked it up and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time catching it. But what it sounds like, it's a feedback loop.
Yeah,
Like
and what?
you're
Mm,
giving the information to
yeah,
someone and then they're saying it back to you the same way or slightly different or whatever. And
yeah,
so
that's
I
yeah.
always say, make your own recording or take your
Mm,
own notes,
mm,
and
mm,
so that you know what
mm,
you said or what you
mm,
didn't say. And
mm,
also look for those people who you don't have to say anything.
mm,
You
mm,
know, when I was doing one-to-one mediumship, I divided the readings into two different things. One
mm,
is mediumship, and you have to shut up and
mm.
you can't say much. You can
Yeah,
say
okay.
yes or no, or I get it. And then at the
Yeah,
very end, if you want to share something, great. And
yeah.
the other was the psychic, the ask the guides, be
Mm,
chatty, talk about possibilities and probabilities. And
mm,
it's if you split those out, it gets really clean that
mm.
way. So that's my recommendation is to look
Okay,
for those kinds of readings. You shouldn't have to say much, but you should be careful what you say.
okay. And you don't even look at people sometimes, right? When you do the
I
online
never
meet,
look. No, we
you
turn
never look.
off your camera.
Yeah, exactly. Mm,
Yeah, we turn off your camera because number one, we save the bandwidth for the connection. I don't want that connection to
okay.
drop. Number
Yes.
two, I don't want to be confused.
Mm,
Like I had this person one time. I remember I'm standing on a stage
mhm.
and the guy's up front. And I'm saying things, and I'm looking for feedback, and he's just frowning the whole time. And
Okay.
then at the end, he comes up to me afterwards and says, frown still. That was the best message I've ever had. And I'm like, I thought I was screwing up. So I don't want to see your face.
Yeah.
People who came to my office, I would never look up at them.
Hmm.
Zoom is nice because I can turn off their camera.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
of
always
course.
do, as you know.
That
Don't read, they're
frowning
not
person.
reading, you're not reading body language if you can't
Yeah,
see them.
yeah, yeah. Okay. I was just, I don't know. It's so funny. The person who was frowning all the
Yeah,
time, then
that's his
so
face. That's
praising
his
you.
face. Resting frown face. And here I think I'm doing a bad job. So, you know,
Yeah.
that was a good learning lesson for me.
Okay.
is don't worry about the
Mm-hmm.
reactions because
Mm-hmm.
people are they're stunned
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. They get this sort of deer in the headlights thing, and I've watched other people do platform demonstrations and work, and I've seen people forget their own father's name
Yeah.
and things like that. And so it's like, yeah, just so those budding mediums out there, first, I hope you're teaching
Mm-hmm.
others how to make their own direct connection. I hope that's part of your work because you're going to be a great teacher because you know how to do it. But I also hope you're not looking at your sitters because they can mess you up more
Well,
than help you.
yeah. Have you ever done platform readings yourself?
Yeah, and we had the Afterlife Research and Education Institute conference
Yeah.
every year,
Yeah.
and then it
Yeah.
died off, as you
Okay.
know, during COVID. And so I did
Mm-hmm.
platform there. I've done platform a couple of other places.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like it because there's so much to work with when you walk out. There's
Mm-hmm.
so many souls lined up, and
Mm-hmm.
I've done my own platform demonstrations too on my own, and I
Cool.
love that feeling because you're loved, guided, and supported by so
Mm-hmm.
many souls, and then I can see them walking around in the audience. I could see sort of like a transparent person or an outline of someone bending down and kissing their loved one in the audience.
Right.
Sometimes, I'll have somebody run up in
Mm-hmm.
spirit and wave and get my attention, and they're telling me that their loved one sitting over there said, go scream in Suzanne's face, get her attention. And I'm like, did you tell them that? And they're like, yeah.
I love
I
it.
know. I mean, it's
Ah.
it's it's good stuff. It's really good
Okay,
stuff.
okay. So that brings me to another topic like of interpretation and projection and vulnerable sitters and all the rest of it. So I was
Yeah.
wondering because you said early on you have your kind of own sign system, right? That you
Yeah.
interpret
Yeah.
during a reading. So where or how do you know that? I don't know. Th or how do you differentiate between a genuine connection and the risk of projection or interpretation? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
it's a very,
it,
very delicate
yeah, I
balance.
think so. Yeah. Okay.
The key to really good evidential mediumship as a medium is to be descriptive, not interpretive.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Makes sense.
so let me think of an example. Easy example. A red apple to
Mm-hmm.
me
Hmm.
typically means that either that spirit communicator was a teacher
Hmm.
or my sitter is a teacher. Red
Okay.
apple has come to mean teacher.
Hmm.
And I can remember a couple times that symbolism failed me.
Hmm.
Not a lot, but it's memorable when it doesn't work.
Okay.
So I here's being interpretive is saying, I believe your loved one is saying either they were a teacher or you're a teacher.
Yeah.
Yet
Yeah.
no.
Hmm.
Being descriptive is saying they're holding a red apple in their hand
Hmm.
and showing it to me. And the
Hmm.
red apple typically to me means they're a teacher or you're a teacher.
Okay.
And they'll say, well, we're not teachers, but there is a meaning. And I'll
Hmm.
say, okay, boo, boo, boo,
Hmm.
boo, let me stop you right there.
Hmm.
Don't say it.
Hmm.
And I go back, and in my mind, I ask, what do you mean by the red apple?
Okay.
I remember one time it was they had a huge apple tree in their
Hmm.
yard, and one happy memory was gathering the apples and making apple pies and apple this and
Yeah.
apple cakes and
Yeah.
for the whole family. I
Hmm.
don't remember what the other one was. It was something else, but so that's just a way to show you the difference between interpreting and describing.
Okay, okay, makes sense. And especially when you bring through afterlife contacts, I suppose you have a lot of sitters who are very vulnerable in a way. So how do you
Yes.
deal with them? How do you deal with that vulnerability of these?
Well, one thing that mediums typically are not,
Hmm.
we're not counselors.
Yeah, okay.
Typically, there are some out there who are therapists,
Hmm.
who are grief educators,
Hmm.
and I like that package.
Hmm.
I like
Yeah.
that package of skills
Hmm.
and knowledge and training.
Mhm.
And they do offer like a post mortem, no
Yeah.
pun
Okay.
intended,
Yeah. Okay.
uh, of the session. Like now
Yeah.
we have an extra 15 minutes, and do you want to discuss anything or whatever?
Mhm.
Um, I am very concerned about number one, doing no harm
Mhm.
first off. And so, one of the things you can do on the front end is don't bring anyone who's in heavy grief into your practice.
Okay.
Don't bring them in heavy grief. They need to process, they need time.
Mhm.
After a loved one has passed, the loved one may or may not need
Mhm.
time to get ready to make a connection. They also, if there's any mention of being under the care of a mental health professional,
Mhm.
I don't, I want them to complete whatever that is
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
If they come in saying, I have to get a reading from Suzanne, or I
Mhm.
don't know what I'll do, red flag, that sort of thing,
Mhm.
because the reading is not going to fix anything. So it's
No.
very important that people hearing this to know that the reading is not going to fix you. It
Mhm.
is a spoke in a wheel of many modalities
Mhm.
that can help you process your
Okay.
grief, but
Yeah.
the grief will still be there.
Okay.
And so I love organizations like Helping Parents Heal.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was very fortunate to be utilized by Spirit to
Mhm.
help get that organization off the ground in a small way. I
Mhm.
introduced the two co-founders to each other.
Oh,
It
great.
was information that came through me from a young man named Morgan Boisson, who died at the foot of Mount Everest,
Oh.
who came through to me in a very odd way through a third party, and the message was relayed to his mother. His mother got her proof that love truly does live forever, and she started a grief organization. I helped that group find their
Mhm.
first free meeting place
Mhm.
for a couple of years in Cave Creek, Arizona. And I got to volunteer with them for a long time and still do.
Okay.
And I'm on their advisory board now.
Mhm.
Now
Mhm.
I do not have access to any of their membership information. I don't have access to their Facebook group, their social media. We don't see who's coming to their meetings. We don't
Mhm.
have email addresses, names, or phone numbers or anything.
Okay.
They
Mhm.
have a list of mediums that they've certified that they refer their bereaved parents to.
Mhm.
And they have caring listeners. So if you go and get a reading, or if you're having a bad day, you want to do some processing, they have specially trained caring listeners that will talk to the bereaved parent at any time. They're the model of the new way to
Mhm.
help people walk through the journey of grief.
Mhm.
And so I love seeing organizations like this
Yeah.
that have taken it upon themselves to codify their openness and their
Mhm.
acceptance.
Mhm. But
You
this
know,
organization is only for parents who have lost their children, right? Or
yes. And so
do
what
we
I
have
would like to see is somebody take their model,
yeah,
and
and
maybe there's a
extend,
group for spouses,
yeah.
or
For
there's a group.
parents that you lost or
Yes.
something. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah.
we have that model out
Okay.
there, and there's many kinds of grief healing type of groups. And again, I'm not a counselor. I don't present myself in that way at
Mhm.
all.
Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
also, we talked about getting addicted to readings. It's like
Yeah.
crack. It
Yeah.
really is. It's
Yeah.
some people, and there's a moving target with some people about belief, and
Mhm.
this doesn't apply to any particular person, whether you've lost your cat, your dad, your
Mhm.
spouse, your
Mhm.
daughter, whoever it is.
Mhm.
There are people that say, I'll believe in the afterlife when somebody says to me X. When they give X as the message, whether it's my friend who's psychic or getting a reading or whatever, I'm only going to believe when I hear them say, my loved one says X. They
Mhm.
get it.
Mhm.
Someone says, I've got to give you a message, or they're getting a reading. X is said, it's out
Mhm.
there. They're
Mhm.
thrilled,
Mhm.
thrilled, top of the world. I'm healed for like 3 or 4 days. And then
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
done.
And
And
then
then
they
it's, I just don't
repeat
know. I
that.
don't trust it.
Yeah.
I will believe in the afterlife 100% when I hear why.
Yeah.
When a
Yeah. Yeah.
psychic friend says this, or a reading
Been
says
there
that.
too.
The
Yes.
moving target's a trap, folks.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah,
It's a trap. It will drain your bank
definitely.
account, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
will outsource your spirituality.
Yeah.
To
Okay.
keep moving that target. Don't
Mm-hmm.
outsource your spirituality to others. You have it within you. You can learn how to invite a dream visit. You can learn how to meet in meditation. What I wanted to offer your listeners is a free PDF of my book. They don't even have to buy the
Okay.
book.
Oh, perfect.
And
Okay, so
yeah, I mean,
smart, right? That's the one.
yes,
Yeah.
Soul
Perfect.
Smart,
Yeah.
what the dead teach us about spirit communication. It's an
Okay.
ABC 1, 2, 3 how to make
Awesome.
your own connection. You hopefully might never need a reading again if you actually do the work. If you actually do
Oh,
the
that
work.
is so lovely. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I'm
Yeah,
so
I have it on
excited.
my, I have, there's an email link on my website too, but we can
Okay.
do this however you want. But
Yeah,
so
okay.
we've given
But
away over 500 copies of the book.
wow.
And the feedback that I've gotten since 2000, there was a first edition, there's a second edition in
Hmm.
2018, is
Hmm.
this stuff works. It doesn't
Yeah,
always work the way you think. Like
yeah.
you might do the rehearsing for the dream visit a lot, and then all of a sudden you get a bunch of signs
Hmm.
instead. But
Hmm.
what this does is if you do these activities to make your own connection,
Hmm.
it's signaling the universe, I'm shining my light more brightly now,
Wow,
let's connect.
that
So it's
is,
like you gotta practice. You gotta get in there and do the work. And
yeah.
again, don't outsource your spirituality to other people all the time.
Love it. I love it. Yeah, I have to think about it how we can do this best. So I will contact you again. I have to give it some thought, but perfect.
Okay,
Thank you
okay.
so much.
Well, there's a study with me page
Mhm.
at carefreemedium.com, and there's a little paragraph there if you want a free copy of the book. Click
Okay.
here.
Yeah,
So
okay. So also
it's there for the public all the time.
put that in the show notes as well.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I was going to ask another thing that has been on my mind quite a bit, and this is reincarnation. And I think that I heard you on a podcast at some point, but I don't know who you were talking to. And I have in mind that your version or his version of reincarnation differed somehow from what is commonly out there. So, how do you see reincarnation? How does it work for you? It's real, obviously, for you as well, right? But
Yes.
it works, I think, from your perspective, slightly differently than what many other people think it works. Am I
Yeah,
right?
I think that was the interview with Craig Hogan.
Kogan, yeah, that's
Yes,
possible. Yes,
yes, yes, yes. From Seek Reality. I've known
yeah.
Craig for it's actually going on 20 years because
Hmm.
I was following his work before I actually met him. And he founded the Afterlife Research and Education Institute, and I was a board member for years. And we differ a little bit too. So
Hmm.
I'll start with his, which
Okay.
is much more extreme on a
Okay.
sort of like a continuum, and then mine, and then what, the zeitgeist is right now.
Okay. Okay.
And so
Perfect.
for Craig, he makes the point, which is fascinating, that a loving source
Hmm.
would not punish us by
Hmm.
making us come back again and again and again to get it right.
Hmm.
That doesn't fit with what we know
Hmm.
about our source energy, the one, the monotheistic God.
Yeah.
And that when we are, before we incarnate, when we are still in our spirit form,
Mhm.
we get to view all these different potentials and we get to see all of these different experiences so
Mhm.
that we can learn and we can have a framework and come in with some spiritual knowledge that is deep within our subconscious, or perhaps it's our unconscious. Craig, don't get mad at me if I'm getting this wrong. And I know that I'm being reductive. He's going to say I'm being reductive, but I hope I'm on
That's
the right
okay.
track. But
Yeah.
anyway, um, and so when we have a past life regression hypnosis here, we think we're remembering,
Hmm.
but it was something we reviewed before we came that would relate to our lives now,
Hmm.
right? It's some potential we saw or someone else's life that we saw. And he says that, and here's the part where I have to agree. I
Hmm.
don't feel, it just doesn't, and I'm open to changing,
Yeah.
but right now I don't feel that we come multiple times into multiple women's wombs.
Hmm.
We emerge through multiple birth canals
Hmm.
and we grow up in multiple lives. It doesn't track for me. What
Okay.
tracks for me is that we have different emanations of one soul.
Okay.
And so that's more, I don't use the term, but people will say, oh, I've heard that before, or she's not coming up with this. I'm not purporting to, but
Mm.
it aligns more with the oversoul
Okay.
theory,
Okay.
and that we have different emanations of ourselves. And then the
Mm-hmm.
zeitgeist is you do come into different wombs, you do come through different birth
Mm-hmm.
canals, you do live the entire life.
Exactly.
And to me, it's very confusing to people because one of my frequently asked questions I get is, what if I get to the other side and everybody I love is gone because they reincarnated?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it never has happened.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard any of my colleagues or anyone say, Bob can't connect right now. He's reincarnated as a young girl in China, but he'll get back to you. Leave a message at the tone. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
making light of it, but I'm serious too. So somewhere in the middle of this, we are learning about ourselves through soul's experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so for me, I'm a trained past life regressionist. I went to a college, a regionally accredited college, on
Mm-hmm.
top of all my other degrees and certifications for several months and got certified as a
Mm-hmm.
hypnotherapist so I could do past life regressions. For me, I ask, is it helpful, hopeful, and healing? If the answer to that is yes, I love the modality,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
I think it's helpful. But did they actually go through a birth canal and live all 78 years or 85 years or 95 years of that life? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't
Okay.
totally know because
Mm-hmm.
none of us do. It's sort
Mm-hmm.
of like a spiritual hearsay, a theory. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that our souls have emanations in different dimensions. And so, also, when you look at space time theories,
Yeah.
all of those lives or all of those lives that we're tapping into could be happening in the now. But
Mm-hmm.
because we're in third dimensional Earth, we perceive it as linear.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to me, it's like make up your own mind, ask your own questions, but
Mm-hmm.
leave room for new information.
Mhm. Isn't it also possible? I think Dr. Michael Newton said it at some point, if I don't mix it up right now, where he kind of claimed that a part of the soul, so to speak, stays in quote unquote heaven. Like, so when you make
Yes.
contact to a person, or when
Yes.
a person says, so I can't talk to XYZ because she has reincarnated in China, it doesn't happen. But probably maybe it doesn't happen because a rest of the soul or residue of the soul, or maybe even the majority of the soul, is still in a different place than here in our 3D world. Isn't that also a possibility, maybe?
I'll tell you what I know to be possible, and I
Yeah.
trust this.
Hmm.
We're not all here. You're not all your entire consciousness is not in
Not
your
here,
body.
yeah. Yeah,
We're
yeah.
not all here, and that's a good thing. We
Hmm.
usually will say, he's not all there,
Hmm.
as a saying of like
Hmm.
something's missing there, there
Hmm.
must the screws loose. But
Hmm.
really, we're not all here because it doesn't require our entire consciousness to operate these lives in 3D Earth. There's always a part of us that's connected with spirit, and that's
Yeah,
what we refer to as the soul self, the higher self.
yeah.
And
Okay.
so that I know to be true. And I think some of us are more here than others. Some of us have
Okay.
really self-actualized,
Okay.
have more of our souls present. And
Hmm.
have you ever seen somebody who's very calm and serene and they're older, they're like in their
Hmm.
80s or 90s, but they look young or feel
Yeah.
young to you,
Yeah.
and there's like a light that comes through their eyes,
Yeah.
and they're just, there's a beauty there, even though the skin can be leathery and old, you
Hmm.
feel a young soul.
Hmm.
When you run across a person like that, I feel like they've got more of their soul present with them. And their aura, because I can tune into the aura too, is usually bigger and
Hmm.
bolder and
Hmm.
brighter and encompasses everyone around them. They walk into a room and people feel good. And it can
Hmm.
be a very young person too
Hmm.
that comes around with this energy.
Okay. Have
Trouble starts when we grow older as like teens and we get
Mhm.
distracted, 20s,
Mhm.
30s, and 40s, and
Mhm.
we're trying to
Mhm.
make this world work for us.
Yeah, okay. Wow, yeah, well, so if we don't have different mothers, different wombs, different, so you think that it's all kind of in parallel lives, so it's like an oversoul, did I get this right? And we are split up in different dimensions, but don't really reincarnate through different, I don't know, mothers, different wombs, etc. That's how you think of it. Did I get this correctly?
Yes, except for one thing. I feel like there's that we are connected because there's to those other lives because there's some knowledge. There's some
Okay.
knowledge there that's for us that we integrate, some
Yeah,
experience
okay.
that we
Okay.
bring in.
Okay.
And like I say, I'm open to new information.
Yeah, yeah.
If we're really going in different rooms all the time, if we're really forced to come back and get something right,
Mm-hmm.
it would surprise me, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
open to it.
Open.
And this is where Craig Hogan's theory that a loving God would not punish us, that would be it would be hateful to say you must go
Mm-hmm.
back, you
Mm-hmm.
must suffer some more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because think about natural law, we always have free will.
Yeah,
So
that is something that Dr. Michael Newton says as well. We have free will. He
yeah,
claims that we don't have to reincarnate, that we sometimes are
yeah,
persuaded by our own, I don't know, higher self or whatever, but that we don't have to if we don't want to. But quite
yeah.
often we want to because we want to fix something or want to learn something else or whatever. So that's his take on it. And I don't know what I believe right now, but
But I don't want people to quit doing their past life regressions and their
yeah.
LBLs or life between life regressions
Mhm.
because they're helpful, hopeful, and healing and therapeutic.
Yeah, yeah.
I had two therapists that would refer me people for phobias to do past
Hmm.
life
Yeah,
regression. And we signed all the paperwork and everything
yeah,
for client confidentiality and shared
yeah.
information. And every single time we found the phobia and we could heal it, but then they
Hmm.
got to follow up with a therapist that could help them. And we would find an experience
Hmm.
that created the fear of the flying or the fear of drowning or the
Yeah,
fear of high places,
yeah,
heights.
yeah,
And
exactly.
we always found it.
Hmm.
And so there's an element of their soul that was very real. There was an
Hmm.
element of their soul that one woman was just on her honeymoon in this hypnosis. She's part of a young couple. She's on her honeymoon,
Hmm.
and they're laughing and teasing and kind of tickling each other on a hike. And she falls right off the mountain and
Hmm.
dies. And there's her fear of heights.
Hmm.
And so I'm like, that's an emanation of this person's soul. That experience is something they're tapped into. And by having this experience, somehow they grow. I
Okay.
don't know that they were really born into that life and lived
Hmm.
that whole. I don't really know, but
Okay.
I feel comforted, and that's another thing. We
Yeah,
choose to study more
yeah,
along the lines of what comforts us and what resonates with us, and this is our discernment.
yeah.
And for me, discerning that, like you said, like Michael Newton said, we're not forced to come back, but there are many proponents of reincarnation who says that we just automatically come back and have to redo.
Mm-hmm.
Many people
Yeah,
say
true.
you just recycle back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
somewhere in all of this.
Mm, there is the truth somewhere,
Yeah,
right?
somewhere. And when we get to the other side, we can have a cup of tea and
Yeah,
discuss.
please, please, and find out. Okay. Do you believe that there are negative entities as well in the spiritual world?
Of
Or,
course.
yeah. So
Of
how
course.
do they have to be, do they influence people? Do they have to be a match for people to influence them? How do we protect ourselves,
I
maybe?
believe in spiritual dust bunnies, little
Bunnies. Okay.
collection. That's what I
Okay.
call them, the spiritual dust bunnies, little collection of energy that is not light filled, and
Okay.
that human beings create them,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and human beings feed them.
Okay.
And so, in short, and indirectly,
Mm-hmm.
we are protecting ourselves from the energies of other human beings.
Okay. Okay.
And for me, that's a daily practice, a daily grounding and centering. I have something I call the daily peace. It's a 5 minute
Yeah.
centering, grounding, protection prayer every morning that I use. I do a little self Reiki every morning. When I wake up, I also say, thank you, I have another day. Where was I last night? What do I need to remember? And I have this I can do it in about 5, 7 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Mm-hmm.
good for the day. I don't run around crossing myself or throwing
Okay.
holy water or
Uh-huh.
saying prayers all day
Okay.
long, although you
The
can because it's
prayers, you
good
know.
for you. Right. So I do that, but we're creators. We're creators here. People
Hmm.
say co-create, whatever word you want to use.
Hmm.
Any negativity, we're part of it. We made it, we created it, we
Yeah.
exacerbated it, we
Yeah.
can deal with it.
Yeah, sometimes I heard somewhere that substance abuse in particular invites these kind of entities in, like if you are a drug addict or something like this, or an alcoholic, that you are more prone, but I'm not sure if that's true, that you're more prone to attracting these kind of negative energies. I don't
I
know.
actually think the most dangerous thing that you can do is to harm others and harm yourself,
Okay.
whatever that looks like. But
Mm.
having an agenda of hurting others for some kind of gain creates big rips and tears and holes in
Mm-hmm.
your energy field,
Mm-hmm.
where those dust bunnies can get in and grow and attract even more lack of light.
Mm-hmm.
So that's true, but addiction work is some of the holiest of works and
Mm-hmm.
experiences that
Mm-hmm.
we can come here. I think this might be really on the nose that I've heard some teachers say that only the highly evolved souls come here for the addiction
Oh,
experience.
really?
And
Oh,
I'm
wow.
thinking it kind of makes
Oh,
sense to me
okay.
because it's so hard, it's so
It's so
challenging.
hard.
I
Yeah.
mean, have you
But
ever talked to
that,
somebody just trying to quit cigarettes?
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
You
that
know?
sheds a totally different light on these people. That's an amazing thought to think of them
Hmm.
as the higher, more highly
Yeah.
evolved people. Wow.
Yeah, because who
Wow.
else would take
Okay.
this on?
Yeah,
It's so
true.
hard.
Okay. Yeah, it is true. It is
So
tough,
much growth and
definitely.
wisdom can come
Yeah.
from
Wow.
dealing with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so interesting. Your questions are amazing, by the way.
Thank you. I've got many more, but I'm mindful of your time, so I have a
Right,
couple
right.
of questions left. So, if you think of your legacy, like when you pass away, how would you want to be remembered? What is your, I don't know, your vision for yourself?
Wow. Oh, okay. I have thought about it,
Okay.
and I've thought about it a lot. And what I think is that I want to be a footnote in history
A footnote.
and in the afterlife community. Like
Okay.
it's a small community, but I want to be a footnote in that history
Okay.
that let everybody feel that they have the power, that they
Mm-hmm.
don't have to, and I keep saying outsource your spirituality, that
Mm-hmm.
everyone who wants it can make their own direct connection to their guides, their loved ones in spirit,
Okay.
to interdimensional,
Mm-hmm.
positive, beneficial beings, and that I empowered people, that I didn't collect people, that I wasn't like, um, I don't tell people you must study with me, you must do
Yeah.
this with
You don't
me.
make them dependent, right?
No, I didn't make them that I
Mm-hmm.
didn't make them dependent, that I made them empowered, that I
Mm-hmm.
made them brave, and
I
that they
love
took a
it.
chance because of me.
Okay, oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. And the last question is, so if you had only 6 more months to live versus 600, what would change? So what would you do if you only had 6 months? What would you do if you had 600 years to live? What would change for you?
600. Okay, 6 months, I do exactly what I'm doing.
Okay, okay.
I would do exactly what I'm
No
doing. I would
question about that.
focus more on teaching than
Mm-hmm.
readings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To reach more people. I would keep traveling to the places that I love. I'm doing it.
Okay.
I'm raising this little puppy that people have
In the
potentially
back.
seen in the
Yes, in the
background, and
background, yeah.
teaching him, and he's teaching me to trust that I can feed myself and take care of
Mm-hmm.
myself, and feed and
Mm-hmm.
take care of him, and take him on adventures. So I wouldn't change anything, which is it's a great feeling to have. Even a
Yeah.
year ago, I wasn't quite there, so but I'm there
Okay.
now.
You're there now.
And so if I had
600.
600 years, I would still be growing a community.
Okay.
And I've done communities that I grow, and I would be mentoring the leaders of that community,
Mm-hmm.
teaching everyone to create a society,
Mm-hmm.
a para society, meaning beside the regular society. We
Yeah.
would grow our own food.
Oh,
We would
great.
get rid of money. We would
Mm-hmm.
trade
Mm-hmm.
goods.
Mm-hmm.
We would prioritize creativity. We would teach our children that
I love it.
creativity was the
Mm.
greatest thing that we could do for the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And we would go back to the ways of the indigenous tribes. I
Yeah,
would love
yeah,
to do that. I'd love to
yeah.
see us recycle back to that.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that was the better, I don't know, the better ways to live. So not just indigenous people in the Americas, but also indigenous
Everywhere.
peoples here in Europe, doesn't matter. Australia,
Beautiful.
yeah, they all have
Anywhere.
certain way,
Anywhere.
anywhere really, yes. Yeah, super
Anywhere.
sorry, I
Every
agree.
the land, the animals, none of it's
Exactly.
wasted. I
Yeah,
mean, if
exactly.
600 years, you could do that. You could do that in 60
And
or
60.
maybe and
Okay.
the way the world is going, maybe even sooner because more people are getting motivated to bring
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
creativity to bear. We're not all going to let our brains rot with AI slop,
Mm.
you
Yeah, I
know.
still no, no.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
we're going to listen, there's such a high frequency on this earth. It's easy to think that oh, low frequency is winning, low frequency is taking over.
Mhm.
It never
Mhm.
wins.
I've
It
never went.
never,
You're
ever, ever
certain of
wins.
this, yes, because it looks so dark right now in so many places. So
No,
that I think, okay, so the light wins. Yeah, the light shines
it's
through.
just making us do better, be
Okay.
better, and be
Okay.
more loving. And that's the focus.
That reminds me of one last thing, if I may. Do you believe in non-human intelligence?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And this is where I can lose some people. You know, it's like, I just got my head around my loved one still lives somewhere
Mhm.
and we can make
Mm.
contact. And you want to
Yeah.
talk about non-human intelligence or NHI, as they call it, or NHIB.
Mhm.
Um, and that is actually NHI is the language that our U.S. government is using now for
Okay.
non-human
Okay.
intelligence. Yeah, they're there. They're there. They existed before us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll coexist and communicate more frequently. And that's where I like that 600 years thing a little bit. Even though
Okay.
I'm not against going home anytime that God
Mhm.
wants to bring me, but
Mhm.
to have 600 more years, that gets us into our evolution with our interplanetary brothers and sisters that are out
Okay.
there.
So, and you consider them to be positive, yeah, by the sounds of it. So, and that,
Um, I think
yeah.
that they're a mixed group, just like,
Okay.
we're not all perfect
Yeah.
here. I mean, because of free will.
Mm-hmm.
Again, as
Mm-hmm.
above, so below, and
Mm-hmm.
in the other dimensions, we always have free will.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not a homogenous race of beings that are looking at us lovingly
Mm-hmm.
24/7. They're probably looking at us like, oh boy, if you're going to go there, lock your doors and pay attention because those humans are dangerous. And I'm
Yeah.
kidding, but that
No,
there's a
but we
point.
are in a
Point.
way sometimes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
bring them through sometimes in non-intelligence, non-human
I
intelligence?
I
You bring them
can,
through?
I
You can.
can, but
Okay.
I don't see it as my calling to
Okay.
do the channeling. However, I'm going to tell you something now. I do think that in the next 3 or 4 decades,
Yeah.
the evidential mediumship is going to just die down because
Really?
people get their own messages and do it themselves. And I
Okay.
think what replaces it is the channeling.
Okay.
And that's people, that's interdimensional beings that, we have relationships with. I
Mm-hmm.
think we're gonna, and I've even talked to colleagues that have said, yeah, I feel more like channeling than doing
Mm-hmm.
readings.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that that's coming.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Suzanne, this has been an amazing
Yeah,
conversation.
it's a great
Thank you
conversation. I
so
appreciate
much
you.
for being here. And it has been so, I don't know, so honest, so open, so high frequency, so lovely. So thank you so much for being on my podcast. And
Listen, thanks for introducing me to your audience because I'm I was just in Basel
yeah.
last November at the Flow
Oh,
conference, and I'm
yes.
in Europe a lot.
Oh,
I
you
have a
are.
very soft spot for Spain.
Hey.
I'm in Spain twice a year,
Oh,
and
great. Okay.
I love meeting my European brothers and sisters.
Oh, perfect.
So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.